طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد السلام عليكم. طيب, so we're still with Hadith Jibril alayhi salam. We started the first part of the Hadith on what is Islam, and we did, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the requirements of believing in La ilaha illallah and also Muhammad Rasulullah. And then we started Iqam as-Salah or Tuqim as-Salah, and we started with Tahara, basically, a synopsis of it or summary of it. And then we went into the shurut of Salah, the requirements or the conditions for the Salah to be correct. And today, inshallah, we'll enter into the Arkan. So the conditions of the Salah, basically, if they are not met, the Salah is not there, right? Shurut al-Salat. If the shart is missing, then the action is missing itself. But if the shart is there, the condition is there, it doesn't necessarily mean that the action is there as well. Is that understood? So, for example, the time of Salat can be in, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a person does the Salat. So this is the difference. With the Arkan, the pillars of the Salat, it's a requirement of the Salat. If it's not there, then the Salat is not accepted, even if the Salat is there, technically speaking. Right? So if you're missing a pillar of the Salah, it won't be acceptable. What were the conditions we went over last week? Dukhul al-waqt, ritual purification, physical purification, facing the qibla, covering the awrah, and intention. Very good, mashallah. Did you look at your notes or you remembered? Okay, alhamdulillah. Good job, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. طيب. And for the Arkan, who knows what the first rukn is? The first pillar of Salah, yes. That's not the order of the Arkan, but yes, inshallah, that's one of them. Yes, al-qiyam ma'a al-qudra, right? So standing up for the Salah if you are able to do so, right? وَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Stand up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in obedience, basically standing. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he said, الصلاة إذا قمت إلى الصلاة فاصبغ الوضوء ثم استقبل القبلة فكبر. So qumtum, getting up for the Salah. When you get up for the Salah, you make sure that you're upon tahara, face the qibla, and make the takbirah, which is the second rukn, right? The takbirat al-ihram. Entering upon the Salat or starting the Salat is with the first takbirah, right? Allahu Akbar. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that مفتاح الصلاة الوضوء أو الطهارة أو الطهور وتحريمها التكبير وتحليلها التسليم. So the miftah, the key to the Salah, you can't get into the Salah without it, is tahara, right? Purification. And tahrimuha, meaning once you do the takbir, you're haram. You can't do it outside speeching or go outside of the Salah, is the takbir of ihram. When you enter into Salah, then khalas. And the tahliluha, opening it up, is basically when you say assalamu alaikum, right? The first salam. So those are the first and second requirements. It's befitting too to know that some people, they have issues standing, so they need to sit in a chair, for example, right? However, it's important when you do the Salah that if you're able to stand, you do the takbir al-ihram standing up first, and then you sit down, right? Some people, they can carry the chair, all the way across the musalla, mashallah, and then they can't even stand up for the Salah. So in that case, it's not acceptable. Even according to some scholars, if a person does it intentionally, then their Salah is not accepted, right? So be careful to stand up for the takbir al-ihram, and do it with tranquility, of course. What's the third rukn? Qira'at al-Fatiha, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Recite which you are able to from the Quran. And the scholars, they do the tafsir of that, saying that means Surah Al-Fatiha. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب, that there is no prayer for the one who does not recite the opening chapter, Fatiha. Also, the Prophet ﷺ said, من صلى صلاة لم يقرأ فيها بأم القرآن فهي خداج, that whoever prays a prayer and he does not recite with it al-Quran, the mother of the Quran, meaning the Fatiha, then his prayer is fasid, basically, like not acceptable, غير صحيح, not correct. So according to most of the scholars, the Fatiha is obligatory upon the Imam and the Ma'mun and the Munfarid. So if you're praying in Jama'at, it's obligatory upon the Imam, it's obligatory upon the followers of this Imam, and it's obligatory if you're praying the Salat by yourself. There's no authentic hadith that basically removes the obligation of reciting Al-Fatiha. There's some madhab that say that if you're behind the Imam is qira'ah is enough for you. But to be on the safe side, if you're able to, you should, inshallah, recite it for yourself. So either, you wait as soon as the Imam has finished the Fatiha. If he has a small rest period, you recite it in that period. Even if if you didn't finish it first, even if it goes into his qira'ah, to be on the safe side that you've recited with the Fatiha al-Kitab. Also, there's one case, if the Fatiha can be basically forgiven. What is that case? Well, more than one case actually. So there's a couple of cases we'll mention. It could be forgiven. If you don't know it? Okay, so how should you pray if you don't know it? Tasbih, or saying, Subhanallah or Allahu Akbar, the dhikr that Prophet taught us. Yes.
Would another case be if you catch the Imam in the ruku'?
Yes, if you catch the Imam in the ruku', because one of the times the Prophet ﷺ, he was praying, leading the salah, and a Sahabi, he came to try to catch it, so he made the ruku' and he walked all the way until he caught the row of the Sahaba. And then the Prophet ﷺ, after he finished the salah, he said, BarakAllahu Feekum, right? May Allah increase you in your enthusiasm. وَلَكِنْ لَا تَعُدْ, don't do it again, basically. But he didn't tell him to repeat his salah, so the scholars derive from the hadith that if you make the ruku', the Imam's Fatiha covers for you. And that's the proof that some of the other madhab use to say that the Fatiha is not, the recitation of the Imam is sufficient for the Ma'mun. But to be on the safe side, like I said, it's better for you to recite it individually. What if you don't know Arabic? Can you recite the Fatiha in English? Or Urdu? Or Malay? No. Why not? Because the Prophet we never have any narrations that prove this, and the ibadah is tawqifiyah, right? Worship is something that we stop according to the Quran or the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. We can't make ijtihad in these type of issues, right? So we have the alternative, which is to make tasbih or tahleel or tahmeed, something that's from the salah that you can use into this place until you learn it, right? But you can't, like some people, they recite in English the Fatiha, even they sing it or they try to recite it, and alhamdulillah, may Allah reward them for their intentions, but it's not technically correct, right? Alhamdulillah, there's many resources for us to learn the Fatiha and to practice, and if one is not able to do so, then alhamdulillah, there's an alternative that we just discussed. Number 4, so we have Qiyam, Takbir, Fatiha. What's the fourth one? Ruku', right? What is it? وَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ أَرْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ, right? Make ruku' with those, bow with those who are bowing. So the bowing is the fourth rukn. And what should we do with in the ruku'? Yes. فَأَمَّا الرُّكُوعَ فَعَدِّمُوا فِيهِ الرَّبَّ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. In the ruku' you should make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala glorified and great. So that's why we say Subhanallah il-Adim, right? Glory be to Allah, the great one, the all great. In the ruku' there are, they say, 3 types of ta'zimat, like making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala great. Can anybody try to guess what those are? When you're in ruku', how do you make Allah great? So saying it with your tongue, ta'deemun bil lisan, when we say Subhana Rabbil Azim, right? We're saying it with our tongue. In this case, it's ta'deemun bil qalb. You're making Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala great in your heart. You're taking into account the greatness of Allah Azza wa Jal while you're bowing to Him. That's why you're bowing, right? And ta'deem al-jawarih, by bowing, you're acknowledging Allah's greatness because you only bow to that which is great, right? And for Muslims, we bow to nobody except Allah Azza wa Jal. With ta'deem al-lisan, and we glorify Allah and make Allah great with our tongue by saying Subhana Rabbil Azim. So there's 3 ta'deemat in the ruku'. In the ruku' also, it is obligatory to come to a complete, straight form and for your bones to settle, right? Not like the speed salah. Some people, they do like, mashallah, like the Prophet said, like the chicken pecking. We don't want to do that. We want to do it, every movement in the salah, with tadabbur and khushu' and tatma'nina, right? Tranquility and ease and concentrating on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness. So the 5th rukn would be before sujood and qiyamu min al-ruku', right? Getting up from the ruku'. You can't go to sujood without getting up first, or else definitely there'll be something missing something. طيب. And the 6th one, sujood. Right? After the ruku', يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَرْكَعُوا وَاسْجُدُوا وَاعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمْ. O you believe, make ruku' and make sujood and worship your Lord. Surah Al-Hajj. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أُمِرْتُ أَن نَسْجُدْ or asjud ala sab'ati a'azam. That I was ordered and commanded to make sujood upon 7 bones, basically. What are those 7 bones? The forehead and the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So the feet, the toes, the knees, the hands, and the face. Right. What do we say in sujood? Subhana Rabbil A'la. Right. And this is the befitting that, subhanAllah, in the ruku' we're bowing for Allah's, saying Subhana Rabbil Azim to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatness. And then in the sujood, we are going so low to bow our heads in humbleness for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are saying Allah is the most high, Subhana Rabbil A'la, right? So it's giving our hearts the basically connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ruku' and in the sujood. Ruku' is befitting to say that Allah is Azim, because you only bow to the Azim. And then in the sujood, it's Allah is A'ala, the most high, because you're putting your head to the most lowest part of the earth to make sujood to the highest one in the creator of everything. Right? So these are, subhanAllah, some of the benefits of the sujood and the ruku'. What shall we say in the sujood? Subhana Rabbil A'la, right? And then what else? What else can you do in the sujood? Now, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَأَمَّا السُّجُودُ فَاجْتَهِدُوا فِيهِ بِالدُّعَى. Right? In the sujood, make your effort to make lots of dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ said, أَقْرَبَ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ وَهُوَ سَاجِدٌ. That the closest a servant is to his Lord is when he is prostrating, making sujood. Right? So فَكْثِرُوا فِيهِ الدُّعَى. So increase in it with your dua. If you're closest to Allah in that position, then you should ask Allah for everything you need at that time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَدْعُونِي أَسْتَجِيبَ لَكُمْ. Call upon me, I will answer you. Right? So this is one of the best times to make dua, when you're in the sujood. The dua you can make in any language. So once you say Subhana Rabbil A'la, obviously in Arabic, then you can make dua with any language you want. If you know certain ad'iyah or prayers from the Quran or the Sunnah, especially the ones that the Prophet taught us, then we can make those. If you know it in Arabic, it's better. But if not, you can make dua in any language, inshallah. Yes.
Is there any to make dua if there is hard salah, can make dua, any dua?
Yeah, any salah. There's no specification if it was like in the Fard or the Sunnah. The Prophet said in general, when you're in sujood, increase in the dua. So once you've done the, according to some of the obligations of saying Subhana Rabbil A'la, 1 to 3 times or more times if you want, then you can make dua after that. Also be keen, like all these movements that we're going through, do it with ease, peace, tranquility until the bodies have become still and the bones have settled, right? We don't want to imitate the animals. So, for example, the Prophet draw the analogy of the chicken, the one who's like pecking, right? We don't do that. We don't do salah very fast. Also, he draw the analogy of the sitting, not to sit like the dog, right? And how some people, they don't make the proper foot position and they sit like a dog would sit. We don't want to do that either. So in the salah, there shouldn't be any tashbih or looking or similitude to the animals, right? Number 7 is what? Coming up from the sujood, right? Yes. And then making the second sujood, obviously. And then, like the brother said, the requirement is before that one. Actually, no, you said in order, right? That's later, that's after, that's the end, basically. So before that one, the tashahhud, right? Right. Tahiyyat, yes. The last tashahhud. And sitting for it. And then the tatma'nina, which is like basically having the tranquility or ease of heart in it. And the scholars say that basically you should have the ability to say at least Subhana Rabbil Azim in the ruku', Al-Fatiha and the Qiyam, and Subhana Rabbil A'la in the sujood. And other scholars say that beyond that, you should feel the bones settling, basically, right? Because some people could say Subhana Rabbil Azim really quickly and get up. So it's best to actually make sure that you ease into each of the positions and stay there for a time that you know that you have fulfilled the obligation of basically like tranquility. And then, like the brother said, doing them all in order. I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. Huh? Taslim, yes. Taslim and then doing them all in order. So, and it's the first taslim that's wajib, right? The other one is sunnah. What's that? The first is in the 4 rak'at or 3 rak'at is considered a wajib, not a rukn, yeah. And then in the second, it's the final one, whether if it's 2 rak'ats, it's like the last one basically is the rukn, the pillar. So we can go once more through them all quickly. So the first one, Qiyam, standing for it. And then second, Takbir al-Ihram. And then Qira'at al-Fatiha, Ruku', Raf'a minhu, standing up from it, Sujood, Al-Jalsa, yes, sitting after it. Well, the second, the sujood in general, you don't count it twice, you just count the sujood for both, yeah. And then tashahhud, yes. And sitting for the tashahhud, obviously you got to sit for it. And then the salam, taslim. And then we can say that, what you're saying, having the tranquility throughout the whole movements and also doing them all in order, right? So these are the arkan. If you're missing a rukn, the salah is batil. The wajibat, some scholars say, is the statements, and this is according to the Hanabila. According to the Jummu'ah, these aren't considered wajib, they're considered basically sunan, right? So takbir, all the takbirat after takbir al-ihram, according to the Hanabila, are wajibat. The tasbih in the ruku' and in the sujood, they consider also as wajib. Sitting between the sujood, they say Rabbi ighfirli, or making that dua, they consider that a wajib as well. The first tashahhud, like we said, and that's according to other scholars as well, sitting for the first tashahhud, if it's 3 or 4 rak'ahs, they consider that a wajib, and sitting for it. And then setting the salam upon the Prophet ﷺ, they consider that as a wajib as well. Right? So according to what's the difference between the rukn and the wajib? Yes. The rukn, yeah, you cannot miss the rukn. You'd have to remake the rukn, right? It can't be left alone. Whereas the wajib, you can make it up through sujood sahw. Right? So if you miss a rukn, then you have to come back and do it for that rak'ah to be counted, and you do sujood sahw. For the wajib, if you're able to do it before you transition to the next position, you should do it. So say for example, you finished the second rak'ah and you're about to get up and you remember that you didn't do the tashahhud, you can sit, right, and then do the tashahhud and then get up, right? However, if you've crossed to the position of standing already, then you shouldn't sit down again and you just make the sujood sahw at the end. Why? Because you've already transitioned to a rukn and that takes precedence. However, if you've missed a rukn, a pillar, then you have to go back and do that pillar. If you don't, it's not counted, and you have to make that rak'ah up after you're at the end of the salah for your salah to be complete and counted. If you miss anything intentionally on purpose, then it's considered batil, right? Either the rukn or the wajib. But obviously, if you don't do it intentionally, the rukn you have to make it up as soon as you know about it, and you do sujood sahw. The wajib, depending on your situation, if you're able to make it up, if you have a transition, you make it up. If you have a transition, then you just make the sujood sahw, and that covers for it. Is that clear? An easy way to remember, if there's an increase of something, say that you added something extra to the salah, you do the sujood sahw after the salam, and if there's a deficiency and you miss something, you can do it before the salam. Or you can do them all after the salam, or all before the salam. Those are the three different madhab. So you can pick whichever is easiest for you, and you forget it. So you don't forget it, inshallah. But the main point is to do the sujood sahw to make up for the deficiencies. Quickly, I guess for the Sunan of the Salah, it's good to know, inshallah. We won't go over in details, but basically, what are the main sunans that one can do for the salah? Yes. Sunan. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have the Sunan of the Salah. I meant to do like the Nafila, but Sunan of the Salah, which you reminded me, Jazakallah khair. So yes, any surah after the Fatiha. Yes. What else? The opening dua, istiftah, right, and the seeking refuge from the shaitan. Also, the extra tasbihat, the dua, like we said in the sujood, right? The second salam. These are all considered sunan, inshallah. And if you miss them, they don't nullify the salah. Then the other chapter, like I said, we're just doing a quick summary of the fiqh of salah because else we would be here for a long time, and we don't want to get on with the hadith, inshallah. So, what are the sunan salah that we can do besides the fara'id? So we went over the times of the fara'id, what we can pray, when we should pray, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and then times that, along with the requirements. What are the other salawat that we can do besides the fara'id? The 12 rawatib, yes. Sunan al-Ratiba, what are those? And then the Prophet said, whoever prays 12 rak'ahs, meaning the sunan, Allah will build for him a house in Jannah. SubhanAllah. So if you pray the 12 rak'ahs every day, look at the real estate you're building in Jannah. SubhanAllah. How many hours you have to work to save up to build a house in this dunya. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for a couple of minutes a day, He's giving you a house, not anywhere, not in DC, in the private neighborhoods or New York, but in Jannah, subhanAllah, right? So, what are the first two? 2 before Fajr, 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, and 2 after Isha. Very good, inshallah. And what's an important sunnah that we should do every day without leaving it? So the 2 after Fajr, before Fajr is considered very important. The Prophet never left it, and there's another one that he never left in general. Salatul Witr, yes, the odd prayer that we should pray. It could be 1 to 9 to 3 to 5 to 7 to 11. As long as it's ended with a witr, an odd number, you can do it. After Isha, anytime after Isha up until Fajr time, right? That's an important prayer to do. Those are all individual sunan. What are some Jama'ah sunan that we can do? Some prayers that you can done in Jama'ah that's sunan. Salat al-Khusuf or Khusuf, right? The eclipse sun. What else? Istisqa, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for rain. What else? Huh? Tahajjud. What's the other word for it? Tarweeh, yes. So tahajjud in Jama'ah is tarweeh, in Ramadan especially, right? So those are some of the times that we can pray extra prayers to help us, because on Yawm al-Qiyamah, the first thing that we're going to be asked about is the salah. So the more we can do, the safer inshallah we can be. There's some times that you shouldn't pray the nawafil, right? If it's fard and you have to make it up, it's okay. But nawafil, there should be certain times that you shouldn't pray. What are those times? You guys know? Yes, after you prayed the Fajr until the sun has risen, right? And that time when the sun is rising, it's preferred not to pray the nawafil. What else? When the sun is setting? Yes. Right? After you prayed Asr until the sun is set? When it's at its highest point, at the zenith, right? Those are the times that we shouldn't pray. Right? If it's fard, like I said, you can make up the fard at that time because it's considered, obligatory. The Prophet said that the compensation for the missed salah is to pray it as soon as you remember or as soon as you're able to do. So he didn't specify these times. The exemption, like I said, is the fara'id. Also, repeating congregational prayer. One time there were some companions, they were passing by and they saw the Prophet ﷺ and the companions praying, and they waited until they finished. And the Prophet said, "Why did you not join us?" They said, "We already prayed Fajr." He said, "If you see the Jama'ah praying, then you should join them," to emphasize the importance of the Jama'ah, the unity of the Muslim Ummah, right? So in this case, it's exempt. You can pray with the Jama'ah. Also, the 2 rakats of tawaf, because the Prophet ﷺ said that you can pray, any time of the day and the night when you're doing tawaf. It's sunnah to pray the 2 rakats. So even, especially when we're making umrah or we're coming in, it's very crowded in Hajj. You're making the tawaf sometimes. You can pray right after, even if it's in times that are generally not like or dislike to pray in. Some scholars like the Malikiya and Ibn Umar, they say that you can wait. So you do the tawaf and then you wait until that time has passed and then you make the 2 rakats if you're able to do so. But the Hanabila and others, they say it's okay to do it anytime. Also, the funeral prayer, there's an exception for that. And some say making up the sunan, like the Prophet would make up the sunan at certain times. Again, the Maliki would say you should wait till after the time of prohibition and then make them up. But like I said, it's open for whichever school of thought you're following, inshallah. طيب. To wrap up the salah, what? Yes.
Is there also an exemption regarding the forbidden time to pray for Tahiyyat al-Masjid as well?
Yes. So entering the masjid, also some scholars say that is exempt from those times. So if you entered at the prohibited times, many scholars say it's okay to pray Tahiyyat al-Masjid, right? And then again, the Malikiyya say no, you should wait, right? So some would say, you would stay standing until the time comes and then you pray. Other scholars would say you can even sit down because it's not obligatory until the time enters, then you get up and pray the 2 rakats. So if you want to do it that way, it's also fine. Both have their adillah. The Shafi'i have their adillah, and the Maliki have their adillah, and the Hanabila have their adillah. So whichever school that you predominantly follow it's okay, inshallah. Just for some usul real quick, the reason the Malikiyya say that we should wait, they use the dalil of Umar. He made the tawaf, he waited after the sun rose to pray the 2 rakats. And also they say the Prophet said, La salata ba'd al-asri hatta taghrib al-shams, right? There's no prayer, or there's another narration, do not pray, la tusallu, after Asr until the Maghrib has come in. So they say that the nahi, the prohibition, takes precedence over the commands, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, مَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. What I ordered you to do as much of it as you can. وَمَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. But that which I prohibited you from, stop it immediately. So in the usul of the Malikiyyah, they say that the prohibition takes precedence over the command in this instance. So they say, we don't pray at this time until it's, the sun has gone down or the sun has completely risen before we pray. And that's just like extra fiqh for you guys. Sorry for getting too detailed, inshallah, but hopefully it's beneficial. طيب. What's the ruling of the one who does not pray? حكم تارك الصلاة. Yes. He's a disbeliever. Wow, mashallah. He's strict. Okay, we'll get into that, inshallah. So first, there's two, I guess you can say, definitions to this point. The one who does not complete his salat as it should be completed, or pray his salat as it should be prayed. This person, if he's ignorant, he's forgiven. If he's knowledgeable and he's lazy in it, he's considered a sinner, but he's still a believer because he's doing the salat. The one who leaves it completely, right, that doesn't pray at all, that's where we come to this issue that some scholars say he is a disbeliever. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, the one who doesn't pray the salat, يُحْشَرُ مَعَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَقَارُونَ وَأُبَيْ بن خَلَفٍ وَهَؤُلَاءِ رُؤُسُ الْكَفَرَةِ. Right, the one who doesn't pray, he will be gathered يوم القيامة with Fir'aun, right, the worst of creation, and Haman, also the worst of creation, and Qarun, also the worst of creation, and Ubay ibn Khalaf, the head of the hypocrites. A'udhu billah. So what kind of company is that? Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَإِن تَابُوا وَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ. If they repented and they established the salah and they gave the zakat, then they are your brothers in Islam, or your brothers in the deen. Meaning that if they don't establish the salah, they are not your brothers in the deen. Right? So, also the Prophet ﷺ said, بين الرجل وبين الشرك والكفر ترك الصلاة. That between a man or a person and shirk, polytheism, or kufr, disbelief, is leaving the salah. And then he said in another hadith, العهد بيننا وبينهم الصلاة فمن تركها فقد كفر. That the contract or the promise between us and them is the salah. So whoever leaves it has committed an act of kufr, disbelief. Also, it's reported by Abdullah ibn Shaqiq radiallahu anhu. He said that كان أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يرون شيئا من الأعمال تركه كفرا إلا الصلاة. That the companions of the Prophet, they didn't see any action that was left except that was considered kufr except salah, right? So with all these, and some, I think Ishaq ibn Rahaway and others, they said it's ijma' of the Sahaba that the tarik salat is kafir, that the one who leaves the salat is kufr, is a disbeliever. Another hadith, the Prophet said, لا حظ في الإسلام لمن ترك الصلاة. That there is no share of Islam for a person who leaves the salah. And these are all the dini, basically evidences that show that the person who leaves salah intentionally is considered a disbeliever. It's very severe, basically. I will give you the other opinion, inshallah, in a little bit, but we're sticking on this opinion to finish it. So these who say that the Muslim who leaves the salah becomes a non-Muslim, they have some ahkam that come upon that. So first they say that he should be called to the salah, and if he doesn't come back to the salah, he's considered to be an apostate, right? A traitor. And according in Islamic law, obviously in the Islamic state, the apostate or the traitor, he gets the capital death penalty, the capital sentence, right? Just like in other countries, if a person betrays the state or betrays the country, they have the death penalty in general. Even in this country, many people were executed as communism because they were spies against, and they betrayed their state. So in Islamic state, the salah is considered one of the most important things that marks a person as a Muslim. And if he leaves it, he is considered a traitor. This is according to this madhab, the madhab of the Hanabila. Number two, he is not able to marry from the Muslim women. And if she is a Muslimah, or if she is a person who left the salah, a Muslim man is not allowed to marry her because she's considered from the apostates or the mushrika. If they are married, their marriage is dissolved. Also, they don't have wilayah. So a man who doesn't pray, according to the Hanabila, he cannot be the wali of a daughter who does pray, right? In the zawaj. His wilayah is not given consideration. Also, they do not get buried with the Muslims in the Muslim graveyard. They don't have salat al-janaza, and they aren't buried with the Muslims. So these are all like very, severe, what do you call it? Like consequences. Yes, I was looking for mashallah. Very severe consequences for the one who leaves the salah. And this is all dunyawi, right? In the dunya. In the akhirah, they said that they will have adabun da'im fil qabr, permanent punishment in the qabr, like the disbelievers. They also, like we said, will be gathered with Fir'aun and Haman and Qarun, right? And Ubay ibn Khalaf, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Also, they will be put into hellfire eternally because they're considered disbelievers. So these are the ahkam of the dunya and the akhirah for the one who leaves salah according to the Hanabila. According to the Jumhur, the Malikiya, and Shafi'iyya, and Hanafiya, they say that he is a grave sinner, a sin that is considered worse than, sometimes you could say, murder or alcohol or zina or homosexuality or anything like that. Leaving one salah is worse than all of that, right, according to these madhab. But they say he's still a Muslim. Why? Because he said, "Inna Allah la yaghfiru ay shirka bihi wa yaghfiru ma duna dhalika liman yasha." That Allah does not forgive the one who commits shirk, but He forgives anything other than that. And they say that leaving salah is not shirk. Also, they say that the Prophet said, "Man qala la ilaha illallah sadiqan min qalbihi dakhala al-jannah." Whoever says la ilaha illallah truthfully from his heart, he really believes in Allah and the Messenger, he will enter into Jannah. So these are some of the adillah that they use. The others respond saying that leaving salah is a form of shirk because the Prophet said, "Al-ahdu baynana wa baynahum as-salah, faman tarakaha faqad kafar," right? Or he said in another narration that the difference between the mushrik and the disbeliever and the Muslim is the salah. Whoever leaves it is not from us, right? Also, they say that sadiqun min qalbihi means that he has to have some a'mal, some action, right? Why? Because, let's say, for example, if you have belief in the heart, we said, what is Iman first of all? How do you define Iman? We studied that way back. Not the 6 pillars, but just the general principles of what Iman is, yes. Conviction in the heart, saying it upon the, yes, and the action in the limbs, right? So to have complete Iman, to be a mu'min, you have to have تصديق بالقلب قول باللسان وتصديق في الجنان والعمل بالأركان. So saying it upon the tongue, believing it in the heart, and acting upon it with the pillars, the outward deeds. If you're missing one of those, then you don't have Iman. And how can I fulfill my point? So say somebody says it with the tongue, they do the deeds, but they don't believe it in the heart. Who is that? Munafiq, hypocrite. What if they say it with the tongue and they believe it in the heart, but they don't do the action? Who is that? What is that? Give us the hint. He is our worst enemy, the shaitan. Right? What happened? The shaitan, he said, قالوا إني أخاف الله. So he said it with the lisan, he meant it in his heart, he feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what happened? When Allah commanded him to do the action, he didn't do it. So he left that rukn, and so therefore he was expelled from Jannah and entered into hellfire forever. So it's, like I said, a very touchy issue. We hope we don't have to be of those who are questioning about that, inshallah. But if you have like family members and loved ones and people, they believe in Allah, they believe in the Prophet, but they don't pray, unfortunately, it's tough to call them a kafir, right? So we can be like more gentle and try to just give them da'wah and try to bring them towards praying, as opposed to like saying you're a kafir and you're not Muslim and etc. Especially in a non-Muslim society, because it's more difficult for them.
How do we say that these people don't pray?
How do we say?
What criteria they say that these people
Like,
maybe you don't come to the masjid but you pray privately.
yeah, so it's basically they would have to go out of their way to show it to the state, to the judge. This is done by maybe their family member saying he doesn't pray at home, and then they'll call him and ask him, and question him, and he says, yeah, I don't pray, so he bears witness against himself. Then the judge will say, okay, we will put you, usually they will put them in the prison and give them a chance to pray. Or they ask you, can you start praying again? What's that? For us, no, we don't do that. Yeah, khalas. We just give da'wah. We're not living in an Islamic state. So we don't have no authority over others, except... Yeah, you shouldn't, because you don't know for sure. You're very, very careful about calling another person a disbeliever or a munafiq or someone that doesn't pray, right? And also, in the society, the only time it will come into benefit is when you are required to tell the faults of somebody else. What instances would that be, for example? Yes.
If someone comes to you asking about someone to marry.
Yes, for example, in a marriage, and you know for sure that this person doesn't pray, for example, it's your duty to tell, whoever's asking you, no, this person doesn't pray, you should not marry your daughter to this person, right? Or, what else? Business, for example, right? You want to be sure, if this person is not good with Allah, do I really trust to put my money with him, Maybe, but at least you have knowledge that this person is not a practicing Muslim, so he might, if he's not caring about Allah, he might not care about you in the transactions, right? So instances where it's required, you could talk about it. Other than that, it's best to not to cover the faults of the brothers and just give da'wah to that person or make dua for him that Allah guides him.
Some people say, I have Iman, so I will pray.
Yeah. That's like the poor beggar saying he has $1 million. But he doesn't have. No, yeah, saying that, Iman is in the heart and, why are you guys so strict and stuff like that. It didn't help the shaitan. Iman was in his heart, but he didn't do the actions. So, if you have really Iman in your heart, you would pray, right? You would do salah. Because how can you, claim to be a Muslim and not do any good in your life? Like not bow once to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your whole life, not thank Allah once, like He's the one who created you, He's the one who gave you everything, and then how much does salah take from your day? Out of 24 hours, it doesn't even take 1 hour completely, right? But look at all the gifts that Allah gives us. So it's very difficult to say that a person is a true believer if he's not establishing the most basic thing of the salah. Wallahu a'lam. But like I said, also don't go around making takfir of people or saying that, because the Jummu'ah of the ulama say that he's still a Muslim. It's just he's, considered a sinful Muslim. The Hanabila, like they said, they have basically they treat him as the non-Muslim, dissolve the marriages and the burial and all that stuff. And they have the death penalty. SubhanAllah, even the Malikiyya and the Shafi'iyya, even though they say he's still a Muslim, they also have the death penalty in their madhab. But the Hanafiyya, they say no, he's kept in prison indefinitely until he comes back to the salah. But it just shows the severity of the. It's considered like a very, grievous sin, SubhanAllah, to be at that level. May Allah protect us from that and keep us always upon the salah and the path of Salat al-Mustaqim. I think we'll stop here before we get into the zakat, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Any questions or comments or yes?
So the waqt for Jummu'ah, is there specific waqt for Jummu'ah?
Jummu'ah, you're asking me difficult questions now. So Jummu'ah, most scholars they say that it's the time of Dhuhr and afterwards, and then other scholars they say that no, Jummu'ah is a specific, special, unique salah, different from Dhuhr, and it can be prayed at different times, even before Dhuhr, right? So whatever your community follows, inshallah, just stick with them. If you can avoid that time, it's better. That one time of the zenith is considered also the least disliked time anyways. But if the person can avoid the khutbah, the actual salah at that time, it's better. And that's one of the arguments of the other madhab, saying that no, it should be after the time of dhuhr, because if you do it before, you might fall into that time. But there's some hadith in Bukhari that they prayed before that time, so Allahu a'lam. Allah knows best. Yes, sister. So what if a person left the salah and then they repented and they made tawbah and they became, praying again? What should they do? So according to some scholars, they have to make up every single salah that they missed, right? How can they do that? Just each salah that you're doing, pray a second time to make up for the previous one until it adds up, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgives. Other scholars say no, once you make the tawbah, first of all, they're considering you as, like, according to Hanabila, as a non-Muslim. So basically you're coming back to Islam. So when you come back to Islam, it wipes away your previous sins and you just start from, new. And then other scholars say that your tawbah, inshallah, is sufficient. Just Allah forgives it. Just continue to make the salah on, from now on, and then do extra nawafil as much as you can. So those are the three opinions, inshallah. Because also they say, especially if someone has left it for many years, it's very difficult to calculate how many salawat to do it, and it could end up being like thousands of salat, so it's very difficult for that person. And the deen is yusr, not usr, right? So if a person wants to take it upon themselves, and makes a sincere tawbah and does it, alhamdulillah, but if not, just make a, clear repentance, and inshallah Allah forgives the past, and just be good for the future. طيب. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم.